Alright, we're back. Testing out the new mic here. Hopefully it's better. At least you won't get the wind noise. But yeah, this is a Shogun Groundbreaker. I think it's 1989. Pretty cool pickup. Yeah, basically I just got off the guy and then I had to he had it locked up on the back of his truck because he couldn't be there, and then I just looked at it and just took it, popped the money in the in the mailbox, and we're all good. All right, so let's take a look at it. Starting from the top. So this bike pickup was kind of near the beach or near the coast, so you can see the decay on it is a little bit stronger. The rust on it's a little bit stronger, but I got the cool T-bone stem. Got these kind of generic grips, old school grips. Still kind of soft. X-Age, brake levers, caps missing off, but pretty much an X-Age mountain group. This is actually friction and indexed, you can tell by this little lever. And then same on the other side here, X-Age mountain. Same with the levers. It's cool how it's still got the little grip things. Just normal flat bars. I don't think they're anything special, but you can see like the anodizing's come off a little bit. Looks kind of cool. And then yeah, the stem already with the heavy rusting on top. You can also see on the headset, this is similar to the Cannondale headset where you can see it's pretty pitted as well, so we can see how that cleans up. Shogun graphic on the front. It's just a sticker, it's not a decal underneath the clear coat. And then yeah, again with the headset, pretty rusted here. The salt near the beach probably corroded it at a faster rate. Down here, same brake, X-Age mountain brakes. These are plastic with metal on the inside, and then but the brake pads seem pretty good. Chromoly forks, and then yeah, sealed hubs. But pretty sure these are X-Age as well. But yeah, once again, pretty rusted. Got the array of rims down here, RX-7. I think it's the older model because it has the little groove here. And then coming back up on top, on the top tube, some wear here, but got this cool sticker, Pump to Ride from Flamington Cycles. Probably gonna take that off though. And then these cool kind of Shogun graphics. Someone commented saying it looks like an old 90s paper cup, which I think was pretty funny. Not too wrong about that. Quick release seat clamp here, old school style. And then yeah, Shogun here with the lugs. This is a chromoly double butted frame, double butted tubes. And then here with the graphics again. I think it's kind of interesting how it's got the bottom mounts up high here. So it's got two sets of bottom mounts on the down tube, but then it doesn't have any bottom mounts on the seat tube for some reason. Maybe for like a pump or something, I'm not sure. Down here we've got the X-Age pedals. Pretty rusted though, you can see, pretty hardcore. And then X-Age mountain cranks, pretty cool. You can take the chain rings off, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it doesn't seem like terrible condition. And a 3x X-Age mountain front mech chain. It's kind of done its job. And back here, this is pretty rough as well. X-Age mountain remech cassette is pretty sure this is like an older style. The kind of like screw on up here. Can't remember what it's called right now, but I'm sure I'll put the word in right here. And then yeah, matching rims on the bottom, and then the hub is also X-Age matching. So yeah, pretty good matching set. Same with the brakes. Nothing too special here. Big light, old school light mounted on here. Seat post, I think it's just a generic seat post, and then this Avenir seat, and it has a little gap in the middle. Probably get rid of that. But yeah, overall pretty good pickup I think, and I think it's going to make a pretty cool bike. I already ran a poll on my Instagram and YouTube on a community page, and it looks like we're gonna do some drop bars on these, but we'll see how we go. One more thing, we also got this stand here. Yeah, you can see the top plate is super rusted, but yeah, I checked, there wasn't any cracks or anything. No cracks on here, no cracks here either. Usually these steel frames are pretty solid. But yeah, that's basically it. Start taking this apart and then see how it goes. Alright, just taking off the chain here. So yeah, just still using my screwdriver chain breaker thing. Still works pretty well. And sometimes you can shift in a low gear to pull the chain out. You can put your thumb on the derailleur, pull it out like that. And then yeah, I just cut all the cables to get rid of the derailleurs. I'm not going to save the cables this time. And yeah, these are just bolt-ons, so pretty easy to take off. You just unscrew it. And with the pedals, a little bit of WD-40. I find it easy to take off the pedals if they're still on the bike, if the bike is still together. So you can use your crank arm against a chainstay, hold it tight and pull it off. And then here, getting rid of these little caps.
You make sure you take this nut off first before you try to remove the cranks. Some of them have them, some of them don't. But if you don't unscrew this nut and try to use the crank puller to pull the crank off, it's gonna be bad news. A little bit WD-40 to clean the threads. You can clean them a bit better if you want, but yeah, I've kind of done it so many times I can kind of tell what needs cleaning and what doesn't. But yeah, if you don't know, it's safer to clean first. But yeah, these cranks came off pretty easily. I did the same on the other side. Give it a half turn to make sure your tool's snug, and then you can just wind down the tool. And here you can see grease on the tapers from the factory, so yeah, they know what's up. Here, just taking off the bike stand. You can see the plate is pretty rusted, but it's just, yeah, on the surface, I think. And then here, taking off this lock ring. I did actually double check which way it's spun, but I put a little bit of WD-40 here just to get it loose. So yeah, counterclockwise seems to be the right way. And yeah, I had to put a lot of pressure actually, but eventually it came off. If you have a bigger lock ring tool, it'll be easier, but mine wasn't that big, so not that much leverage. And then here is, I think this is called like a pin tool. You can use that to rotate it, but it actually ended up just unwinding by hand. You can see the inside. The little racers you can see have been worn down a little bit, so I decided I'm going to just order a new BB for that. You can measure the old one, make sure it's the right length, and measure your BB width as well, and that should give you enough to get the right measurement. And here I had a lot of trouble taking off this drive side cup like normal. I tried using a clamp, my headset clamp, to put it on, and then I end up having to use penetrating oil on the inside as well. But you can see I actually tried, to put tons of pressure on this, but then had to break out the breaker bar, and then eventually it loosened with the breaker bar. Like pretty simple, like took 2 seconds. So yeah, sometimes if you can't do it, just pull out the breaker bar. Yeah, sometimes this is better because you can apply more even pressure versus having the tool slip or whatever. But yeah, that came out, pretty stoked with that. Here, just taking off these little rusted bottle mount bolts. No troubles there. And then here, same with the little canti lever brakes, just had to unwind them and pull them off. So yeah, that came off pretty easy. Taking off the light and some of the other accessories. Sometimes you need to have like a bolt on another side so it doesn't keep spinning, another spanner. But yeah, these all came off relatively easy. This little canti hanger thing, I actually had to use pliers to get it off for some reason. It was super tight. And then same with the front here, just taking off the brakes, just unwind them. If they're a little bit tough, you can put a little bit of WD-40 in there, just try to help slide them off. You can see it's a little bit rusted on one of the boss heads. And then same with the reflector, took that off as well. But yeah, everything's coming along. Just pulling out the cables here, pretty simple, and then yeah, cutting them. You pull the sleeve off and cut them up near the handle, and it'll make it a little bit easier to take everything off. Here, taking off the grips. I had to use WD-40 to take the grips off. You can just slide that red thing all the way inside and give it a spray and twist, and it should come off. Usually, if you don't want to save your grips, you can just cut them with the razor blade. But yeah, I tend to just take them off because it's easy enough. Here, taking off these shifters. One thing funny about these shifters is they have a little bolt underneath which clamps onto the flat bar. Yeah, you might not notice it at first, but I had to unwind that a little bit before it came off. And then this cool Tioga flat bar, made in Japan, and then the Tioga stem. Yeah, shame about the rust on the top of the stems, a little bit pretty gnarly, so might have to sand it back or something. And then here, just taking out the seat posts, that came off relatively easy. Taking off the wheels finally, and then getting rid of these reflectors. Just put a screwdriver in and turn it, and it comes off. I know a lot of people like smashing them, but it'll make your job easier if you don't have to clean it up. And then here, taking off the headset. Yeah, it's actually pretty tight, so I had to hold the forks. Sometimes this is easier if you still have the wheel in, but yeah, I already took the wheel off. And then, holding the forks again, you can see the whole thing just spins. But yeah, this is the first time I took off one of these and it didn't screw up the threads, so pretty stoked on that little washer. And then the bearings seem decent condition. race the seam okay. Pulling out the fork now, and then I'm gonna, because the headset cup is so rusted, I'm gonna use my little DIY headset tool to kind of pop that off. It's just aluminum, so it's not super strong, but it does the job anyway. Just give it a good solid tap and it should kind of like fly out. Make sure you have stuff covering it up, or some people put their hand covering the cup so they can catch it. But yeah, I kind of just did it like this. The other one was a little bit more stubborn, but yeah, everything came off. Alright, so yeah, everything's apart. You can see the fork has some rust and stuff. I'm going to try and get that off. See how we go. Frame's looking good as well, just like a little bit dirty. Rust here and there. Try and clean it up as best I can. And yeah, should turn out alright. Here just giving a frame a once over with not Windex, but it's the soap and water spray, just dish detergent, Dove soap and a little bit of water, or a lot of water, and then you can just spray it, get rid of all the dirt, everything, get the grease from the BB, and then you can see this area is pretty busted up, so I'm going to try to fix it. I'm just going to show you one area. I ended up doing this to the whole frame, but first I did WD-40, and then I ended up using just kitchen foil to get rid of the rust as best I could. At this point I'm not going to fully get rid of the rust because it will take forever for sanding it down, and I don't want to. I kind of like the paint job, but you can see it cleaned up alright. And then after you do this, basically what you do is you paint on rust converter, and that will slow down the rusting process. But yeah, this frame had a few of these rust spots everywhere, and then you just do the best you can. I end up using a little bit of 600 sandpaper on some of the rougher bits as well to smooth it out. It does rough up the paint a little bit with the foil, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to T-cut the whole frame, cut and polish the whole frame, and it should even out the dullness. But yeah, you can see here I'm just doing the rear triangle. Another thing I do is I just do one section at a time. So I did the chain stays, now I'm doing the seat stays, and then I'll do the top tube, and then so on, so on. Makes it easy to keep track of what you're doing. And then here you can see trying to get the rust off with the foil, and then that's a little bit of T-cut there just to show you how it cleans up. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was before. And then getting rid of this pump to ride sticker. Yeah, sorry, but this one has to go. Flame within cycles, a little bit of WD-40 to get rid of the residue. And then yeah, just repeating the same process again. WD-40, nylon brush, and then foil, and then a little bit of sandpaper if you need to. I didn't really use sandpaper except for that one area, but then yeah, I think it turned out alright. And T-cut after that. It was a bit of surface and some of it was a little bit deeper, but yeah, you just basically do what you can. It is from this frame is from 1989, so it is quite old. Unless you want to strip and respray, then this is kind of the option that I like to do. Here, getting rid of more stickers. You can also use a hairdryer for the stickers, but yeah, I kind of was lazy, so I just peeled it off and then used WD-40. So I did the whole frame. It took a while, but now I'm going to T-cut the whole frame. And this is T-cut. Is basically like a color restorer for cars, like like a watered down sandpaper, something like that. And it has a very fine abrasive, and it kind of brushes off a very thin layer on top. I think it has some chemicals and stuff in it as well to help it stop oxidizing and stuff like that, bring out the sheen. But yeah, it works really well. But yeah, you can see it takes a little bit to do the whole thing. You put the T-cut on, and then you spray it down with water, and then keep doing that until it's shiny. And then yeah, it should turn out alright. But yeah, and then I did the same thing, one tube at a time. Head tube, top tube, down tube, seat tube, stays, and then yeah, and then we're good. And then after I did this, I thought I was done, but then yeah, I always forget I got to do the forks as well. So yeah, the forks here looking pretty rough, but just repeat the same process. Sometimes it's easier to take the forks off the frame. Sometimes I leave it on, just depending on the situation. but because these are off already, I just had it on the ground here, and I was just doing it on the ground. And after that, I ended up putting it back in the stand just to save my back a little bit. And here, just putting on some T-cut again, going once over. You can see sometimes if you don't go too hard on T-cut, you can just put it straight over the decals. Just be careful when you're doing it, but usually if you just do it a little bit, it should be fine. But yeah, you can see it shining up pretty nicely now. And then here's the rust converter I use. This is poisonous, so make sure you wear gloves. I ran out of gloves, so I don't have any. Just try not to get it on your hands or in your eyes and stuff. But it's basically, I think it's like an acid, and it kind of kills, it stops the rusting process. It usually turns it black, and yeah, it just slows it down. But you just paint it on, leave it for half an hour, and then let it do its stuff. And then what you want to do is just spray water on it and wipe it off, or wipe it off and then spray water. Make sure you get all of it off. If you don't get all of it off, it's still going to keep working and kind of eat away at your paint. But yeah, everything's looking pretty good. You can see here I'm just cleaning it up. At this point, I was pretty done with the frame, but pretty stoked with how it turned out. I think it cleaned up real well. There was a lot of rust spots on it, and it probably looks better on camera, but overall, I think I'm pretty happy with all the effort I put in. And then yeah, here's the final frame, looking sweet.
Alright, so I got these bars. You can see it's slightly bent on this side. So I'm going to try to bend it back out a little bit. These are just champion bars, 25.4 clamp. Yeah, I think they're just generic. You can see here, HL brand. Alright, don't know if you can see it, but I think it's actually bent right here. So I'm going to try to clamp it here and then put something on the end of the bar here and then pull it out. I'm just going to do it cold set it, and hopefully that works. Alright, just put it on there. You can see it clamped right here.
So yeah, you can see I put the clamp thing in my bike stand, and then I was able to use the breaker bar or the inside of the stand to kind of pull it. Here I'm just using a little bit of tubing to put on the inside just to make it a little bit more flush with the breaker bar. And then yeah, basically just start bending away. It was actually way harder than I thought to bend it. I thought it'd be easy to bend it, but it took like tons of effort, and I think it was tricky finding the right leverage. But yeah, this ended up being the best, just like pushing down on it with my body weight while holding the other handlebar. And after I got that, I did that a bunch of times. Just go slow and check it to make sure it's bending and you're not over bending it. Basically I only bent like maybe 0.5 millimeter every time I put tons of pressure on. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll try to make a 1-for-1 comparison. But yeah, it's way straighter than it was. Pretty good. So yeah, pretty stoked with how this turned out. I didn't know how it was going to go, but it actually straightened up the angle pretty well. And yeah, can't ask for much more. Alright, cleaning up the headset. Yeah, I think the headset was pretty busted up with the pitting on the rusting on the top of the cups. But yeah, I cleaned it with WD-40 to spray it, wipe it with the towel, and then use a nylon brush. Sometimes you got to use a wire brush as well. But this came out pretty clean, I think. And then with the rust here, you can see on top, it's definitely been sitting out somewhere for a while. And you can see when it goes under the chrome, it has little crinkles and stuff like that. So it's gonna shine up, but it's not gonna be 100% perfect. It'll probably be similar to what I did for the Cannondale headset. I think it looks pretty cool. Clean up best I can. And then, yeah, this is just the vapor rust going in. I'm gonna soak it for 24 hours. The vapor rust just helps get rid of rust if you haven't seen my older videos. But yeah, works quite well. And then here, just taking all the bolts apart. I figure I've got the other stuff soaking in vapor rust, may as well soak all the bolts at the same time. So just taking apart all the brakes, taking off the chainring bolts. There was one chainring bolt that was a little bit hard to get off, but I ended up using WD-40, and yeah, eventually came out. And here, just dropping everything in vapor rust. Yeah, fill it up and then give it a shake. Wait 24 hours and we'll see how it goes. Alright, here it is the next day. So again, check the parts. Just straining it using a strainer from Daiso. It's pretty cheap. And you can see the headset here is looking pretty rough, but there's not much more I can do, I think. The yellowing is just part of the vapor rust. The bolt still had some rust on it, but you can kind of brush it off. If you don't want to brush it off, which I'm not going to do, is I'm just going to soak it. I'm just going to soak it for another day, and usually that makes it just fall off, and you don't have to clean up so much. And then here with the headset, I'm going to start working on this because I think this is going to take a little bit of a sweat. So the drill piece I'm using is a kind of like a hard rubber drill piece, and it has has little patterns and little holes in it. But yeah, it works pretty well. You can see kind of can get rid of all the surface rust without damaging the headset. So I just repeated this for all the headset cups. It did take a while. I put a little bit of WD-40 on there as well. To speed up the process, I ended up putting the wire one on. Once again, just be careful when you do this with the wire one. Make sure you wear eye protection, wear gloves. Make sure it don't push too hard, otherwise it'll grip and it'll grip your piece out. Here, just giving it sand using 600, just to finish it off, make it nice and smooth. So when you touch it, it doesn't feel too rough. Just a sand all over, and then what I'm doing now is I'm gonna put rust converter again. I'm using rust converter again just to slow down the rusting process. And then yeah, same process again. Basically, just give it a soak. I'm using this little can to just to hold it because it's a little bit easier to clean. And then just give it a soak for like 20 minutes, and then come back and then rinse it out. And while I'm soaking that, I'm going to clean up this stem. This stem is just an SR stem, but I think it looks pretty nice. So I'm going to give it a clean, just sand off the rust, give it a little bit of a buff up again on the drill press. I originally wasn't going to shine it up too much. I usually just sand it down with 600 or just give it a once over on the drill press and just leave it as is. But yeah, I just want to give this a shine to see how it works. I end up just putting T-cut on that little cloth end drill piece, and then yeah, you can see how it works here.
Alright, you can see here it's looking pretty good. There's a few bits I missed with the sandpaper, do that bit and underneath, but you can see it polishes up pretty well. So yeah, I'm pretty deep in, so I may as well just finish it, do it properly, get some sandpaper out, sand off all the rest of that, and then buff it up again. Alright, I just gave it a sand all over 600. I think I got everything, but basically you can keep working on this for like forever. So I'm going to give it one last buff up on the drill press, and we should be good.
Yeah, you can literally go forever sanding it, trying to get rid of every single thing. Drive yourself a little bit crazy sometimes, but yeah, pretty happy with the end result. I think this looks pretty cool. I don't think I need it to look much better. Otherwise, when you're riding the bike or whatever, lock it up and you ding it, you're gonna be annoyed. And then here, yeah, just with the headset, just rinsing it off, and then this is pretty much done.
Alright, headset finally clean, and this is kind of what it looks like. I think it looks pretty cool. Maybe not for everyone, but I like it. So yeah, we're gonna install the headset now, forks and frame together, and it should be good. And then these are the levers I got, just X-Age Action, but they got the little cool quick release button here. Pretty clean. I just need to clean up the hoods a little bit, but yeah, these are ready to go as well.
Alright, just installing the headset here, so I gotta install the headset cups first. I'm just using my DIY tool again. Here I'm just putting some grease on the inside, grease it up so if you need to tap it out, it won't be too much of a hassle. But yeah, originally when I started putting these headset cups in, I used to do them both at the same time. And then I saw on like Instagram, someone else just did them one at a time, so I tried that this time. And it seemed like it was a little bit easier just because you could just have to align one of the cups. But I end up doing just a little bit, not fully in, just to get it lined up, and then I end up doing the other one, both of them at the same time, so they're nice and flush with each other. But yeah, worked out pretty well. And then yeah, just putting the fork in, just greasing it up. You can also grease the inside of the bearings. Don't forget that little plastic washer as well. That's going to help dust stop getting in your headset. And then yeah, just load it up with grease and push it in. Should be good. Wipe off the excess grease, of course. And then same with the top. Load it up with grease. And then make sure your bearings are facing the right way as well. You'll kind of, there's only two ways to put them in, so if you put them in one way and it doesn't feel smooth, then flip them over. Should be pretty simple. And then here's putting the little spacer and the nut back on. But yeah, that's looking good. Pretty solid. Happy with that. Back to these bolts with the vapor rust. Yeah, they're a lot cleaner. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but they're a lot cleaner. I'll give them a rinse and then should be fine. And I just rinse them with water and then dry them off. And then what you need to do is you need to spray them with WD-40 so they don't flash rust again. On the vapor rust bottle it says you can re-dip it in a vapor rust, but vapor rust is a little bit thicker, so I normally just do the WD-40 method. And then yeah, this is the next day. You can see you don't have to soak them overnight. I just left it out because I wasn't working on it, but yeah, just the next day and just give them a wipe down. But yeah, you got to make sure, lay out all your parts. It will make it easier to kind of put your parts together. And then yeah, put them back together. Usually it's pretty straightforward because they only fit a certain way. But if you have problems, make sure you take photos or whatever. But usually they only fit in certain areas, so you can usually work it out by process of elimination. But yeah, these are looking pretty good. Pretty stoked on these. Don't put your brake pads in, the vapor rust of course. And I usually keep those separate, keep them out, keep them clean. You can give them a wipe down. Use brake cleaner if you need to.
Alright, I was just about to put the brakes on. You can see these two are pretty good. That one's pretty good, but this one has a little bit of rust on it. So I'm just going to give it a quick brush up to make the brake on a little bit easier. Some people have asked me before, do you sand it down? I try not to sand it down, otherwise it could get really loose on your brake. So basically I think a wire brush should get rid of most of the rust and then you can smooth it over.
Alright, just using WD-40 and a wire brush, just basically brush off as much as you can. Yeah, try not to go overboard because you don't want to take too much metal off, but yeah, the brush should be fine. Alright, so the new BB came and I was just about to put it in and I noticed this little thing sticking out. So I tried it, it doesn't fit, so I'm going to try to take it out and then cut it or sand it down. You also see that it's not a screw, just a little bolt thing. Yeah, so first I used a pair of pliers and tried to pull it off. I end up like jamming my finger a little bit with the pliers, so I stopped doing that real quick. And then here I'm trying to sanding it down with the file, but it took forever. So I thought I'm going to try to wedge it out somehow, and I tried using a screwdriver and that was too hard. So I ended up using a hacksaw and cutting a line just down the middle. I thought that way at least I could turn it and loosen it at least. And you can see here, I went in pretty deep, pretty close to the edge of the plastic. But yeah, I didn't touch the plastic. And then just using a screwdriver on my little wrench bit, I was able to turn it. It was pretty tight, but I ended up turning it and loosening it. So after that, I was able to wedge something inside and try to push it up. It was just a Pedro's tire lever. Push it up, and then again try and use a screwdriver to pull it out. It's funny because it's always the little things that take up the most time. You think it's going to be easy, but then it takes a little bit of effort to do. But yeah, you can see eventually it loosened, and I was able to get the pliers underneath the edges to be able to pull it out. But yeah, it's funny design. I guess they designed this so it was only meant to be for loose ball bearings in there. But yeah, I'm going to put the square tape in. And pretty happy that finally that came out. And then to screw it back in, I decided to just add a washer. This is a washer from a Presto valve, and then just hammer it in, and you can see end up being perfect. And it's also raining. Monkey shred, working in the rain. But yeah, the show must go on. I'm here just greasing up the tapers, putting a new BB in, same size, so it shouldn't have any issues with chain line. And if it feels tight, just take it slow. I had to wind it forward and back this one a fair bit because it was quite tight, but eventually I got there. And yeah, spins pretty decent. Alright, back again with more bolts. I'm going to clean up the derailleur and the derailleurs and seat posts, all that kind of stuff, all the bolts that I didn't clean. So this is basically the last set. Give them a rinse, drop them in vapor rust. I end up just chucking the whole derailleur and yeah, everything just in the vapor rust. Just top it up, make sure it's covered. And then these didn't have any rust on them, so I just cleaned them by hand using WD-40 and nylon brush, give them a nice clean, and these were ready to go in. So yeah, I'm going to install the brakes and just a little bit of grease on the little pivots there, and then yeah, just put them on. The gold one goes on the left hand side, and all these little caps are interchangeable, so it doesn't really matter which cap you use. And then I usually use the middle hole to adjust your tension, and then silver's on the right. You can see like that. They should kind of spring back if you have them done properly. They should spring back and spring back to the outside, so when you're pulling on the brakes they go in, and then when you let go they go out. And then here, same with the same with the back. Same method here. Nothing to it really. Just make sure. I wasn't sure which way the brake pads go, but I end up putting the one with the Shimano logo at the top. I figured they probably want their logo showing if they design brake pads. And then here, cleaning these final bits, just the seat posts, the cranks, and the stand. I'm not going to put a stand on this bike, but I'm just going to clean it up in case I need it for another bike. And yeah, this is basically just brushing it down, giving it a light brush. I'm not going to go crazy on these. Just a nice overall brush up. A little bit of a 600 just to even out the coating or the patina, make it nice and even. I think bikes look good when like the wear is even all over the bike, but yeah, sometimes you gotta do a little bit of work to make it look like that. And then yeah, the seat post had tons of scratches on the back, but I just do what I can. You can't really do much when the scratches are super deep without sanding down the entire seat post, so it's a different size. But yeah, these are looking pretty good, pretty fresh. And then the chain rings were decent condition, and I think they were just dirty. I didn't really see too much rust on the chain rings. So again, same process, just brush them off with a nylon brush, use a little bit of soap, and then WD-40. I think the thing with chain rings and stuff is if you have a degreaser, it'll probably make it a lot easier, because sometimes after you wash it, there'll still be grease on the rings, and it takes a little bit, takes a little extra just to clean them up. But yeah, here you can see I ended up giving them a quick buff on the drill press as well, make them nice and shiny. These are old biopaste rings. They're ovalized, so you get a little bit more consistent power through the pedal stroke. But yeah, you can see these clean up pretty well. Pretty happy with this. And then yeah, just putting the cranks back together. Yeah, they have a little tab on the chain ring that goes behind the crank arm. With the biopaste one, I've also noticed people turn them 90 degrees so you can get a little bit more power as well, but I'm just going to run them the default settings on my crank. But yeah, these are looking good. I ended up taking the biopaste sticker off because it was peeling off anyway, but it's cool. It had a little biopaste engraving behind it anyway, so it looked really cool, I think. Here, putting on the cranks on, putting a little bit of grease on the tapers. Yeah, some people do it, some people don't. I like to do it. And then, yeah, just push it in and make sure it's nice and flush, and then you can use your bolt to kind of screw it down. And then when you screw it down, just make sure you don't do it super tight. I usually do it until you feel it you can't go anymore, and then yeah, that's usually when you should stop. trying to crank it in. And then these little dust caps as well. I just have the little hole facing the crank arm. I think that's how they came off. And then same with the other crank arm. Yeah, not too much to it. Just tighten it up. Make sure it's a nice and snug. You don't want these loosening off. And then yeah, put these little caps on as well. So yeah, there the cranks on now, looking pretty good. New BB as well, so spin nice. It's going to be solo. Can't wait to try it. And then here, yeah, I saved these wheels right for last because I knew there'd be a little bit of a mission to clean. But I sprayed the cassette with WD-40 first, and then I'm just getting rid of the dork disc. You might ask why I didn't just take the cassette off. It's because I don't have two chain whips, so I ended up just cleaning the cassette on the wheel itself, just using wire brushes, WD-40, and then yeah, just soapy water. It ended up cleaning a lot better than I thought it did, or I thought it would. So yeah, it looks pretty good. And then here, cleaning outside the rim. When you clean outside the rim, just be careful. Don't get too much grease and stuff on it. I use detergent and soapy water. You can also use brake cleaner on the rims after you clean everything. But yeah, it just takes a little bit of effort. You just got to put in the effort and brush it up. I clean the spokes as well, just an iron brush on spokes. Here's a little bit more detailed or zoomed in on how I clean the hubs. And yeah, just using a wire brush, get all that rust off. These hubs, I found these alloy hubs usually clean up really well. They seem to hold up, and yeah, for some reason they're quite, I wouldn't say easy to clean, but they clean up well. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. You can see a big difference between how they were. And then I had people comment saying like, oh, if you clean it like this, clean it with WD-40, you're gonna get WD-40 inside the bearings and stuff. But yeah, I think that's usually on my shorter videos where they don't see me replace the bearings. If you replace the bearings, it doesn't matter, but yeah, of course, if you don't replace the bearings, you're going to get WD-40 in there. And then same with the other wheel, or the other side, just cleaning it up, brush up again. So the wheels are looking pretty good. Just rinse it off with water. You don't want any residue on the braking surface. And then here I'm changing out the bearings. So yeah, basically just undo one side. I kept the other side done up so you don't have to respace your axle. And then basically just take it out. You can see this one, there's almost no grease in there. I guess all the grease must have worn away or dried off, but you just use a magnet to take it out, take all the ball bearings out. And then same with the other side. First I take out the bearings on both sides. You can also clean the axle now, give it a wipe down. And then you got to clean the inside of the hub. I have this little tool from Boot Bike. Shout out Boot Bike for sending it. It's a seal pick tool, but it's also perfect for inside the bearing hub because you can just kind of like twirl it and it gets rid of all the. It's like the perfect shape. I didn't think it was like built for this, but it ended up working really well. And then yeah, you just use a paper towel to clean the rest of it. Fresh bearings, chuck it in. I can't remember what size, but there's only 3 sizes. You'll be able to work out the size if you just measure them. Usually it goes pedal bearings are small, these ones are medium, and then the rear hub is large. But yeah, it'll be like 5/16 or something like that. You can look it up if you're gonna replace some bearings. And then just screw it back together, grease it up, screw it back together, and then you just want to tension it so it spins smoothly, but there's no play on the axle. And then basically, your wheel's done. The front one was feeling fresh. And then same thing with the back. I don't think there's actually that much difference, except for the bearings are different size. So just repeat the process, and should be all right. yeah, you can see looking pretty fresh now after all clean, fresh bearings. Yeah, you can clean off the extra grease as well, tension it, and then should be sweet.
Alright, I had these tires saved for a little while, trying to chuck them on a build. I'm going to chuck them on this one. They're Michelin tubeless steel compound XCR. I think they're 2.0, but yeah, should be pretty good.
Alright, just chucking these ties on. Yeah, basically simple as this. You just throw them like this. Boom, done. So yeah, they're looking pretty good, looking pretty fresh. I think the grey tires look pretty nice actually. And then here, just getting all the stuff out of the vapor rust, you can see completely took off the rust off the derailleur. Kind of night and day of how much rust it took off. So yeah, these I haven't even cleaned up yet, so they should look pretty good once I clean it up. You can remember that top cap was like so rusted, and of course I forgot to do some skewers, so I had to chuck these in. I think these are definitely the last things, but yeah, same process again. Give it a rinse, a little bit of WD-40, and yeah, stop from flash rusting. Should be good. I'm gonna buff these up on the drill press as well, just to get rid of the rest of the rust. And yeah, not too much to it. Just the same process. Buff it up. The rust pretty much came off. What happened with this derailleur was the little XH mountain. When I was buffing it, I ended up taking a little bit of the paint off because the paint was so soft. Sometimes when the paint is harder, there's really no issue, but you can see here that yeah, the paint kind of just came off because it was so soft already. And sometimes the vapor rust can get underneath paint as well, so be careful of that. So at this point, I was just like, I'll just sand it all the way off and then run it nameless or sleeper style. You don't know what that is. And yeah, I think this looks pretty good than having the half of the paint on. And then here, just installing the derailleur, just wind it on, do it up tight. See, it springs back pretty nice, so it works. It's also straight, make sure you check that. And then with the front mech, what you need to do is make sure you clear the chain ring as well. The tricky thing with biopaste is it's ovalized, so you got to move it to the highest point. But yeah, usually I think it's 3 millimeters is standard for gap. Mine probably looks like 4 millimeter, but yeah, it'll still work. And then here, just putting on the seat posts, quick release clamp and seat posts. And then yeah, just grease it up. You don't want it to seize up. And then usually when I clamp up the lever, I have the lever facing upwards, in line with the top tube. Some people have it facing up or facing the seat stay, but yeah, and then here, putting on the little brake hanger. So yeah, when I put this on, I didn't know if I wanted it black or silver, so I just kept it black for now. And then it didn't have a lot of thread, so hopefully it'll hold. And then yeah, just putting the stem in here. What's good about this headset cap, or the little nut with the little plastic, was this done up pretty tight, so it would make sure no water gets in there. So it was pretty cool to have that. And then yeah, I just did it fairly tight for now. Just I can line everything up later. And then here, just putting on the drop bars. Here you can see which direction you put it on without scratching. You just push it against the bottom of the stem, or yeah, just be careful with the front face, and then it should be pretty harmless. But yeah, you can also clean the inside of the stem to make sure it's nice and clean before you put in your handlebars, and then it won't scratch it like that either. And then here, cleaning these XH hoods, you end up using this Nivea cream, or however you say it. yeah, you just basically want some type of seal on the hoods, and this stops moisture from getting in and also creates makes it a little bit slippery, so you can have all the dirt kind of come off when you apply it on, and then it should dry. Yeah, it should dry pretty nicely. And then here, just putting on the levers. Usually I line up the levers with the bottom of the drop bars, make it nice and straight. You can use an Allen key, and then just go from there. I think the preference for this, everyone's a little bit different. Some people run them a little bit high if they're commuting more often and they don't use their drops. Or if you use your drops a lot, you might have them a little bit lower so you can reach the brakes. But yeah, it's pretty standard with these old levers to run it in line with the bottom of the drops there. And then here, just using a little bit of elastic to make sure the brake levers were aligned with each other, nice and straight. I think I had to adjust it a few times to make sure it was straight. You just make sure the elastic's parallel to the top of your handlebar, and yeah, that should give you a pretty good judgment of how it is. And then here, I end up getting these levers. These are new, but these are Diacom silver shifters. I don't know if silver is part of the Rivendell brand, but these are basically just friction shifters on both sides. But yeah, they're pretty nice. They have a nice little ratchet similar to the Suntour ones, Suntour's thumb shifters. But I think the ratchet on the Suntour ones feel a little bit better, but they still feel pretty good. And then yeah, they just unwind like this, and it's a very simple system. There's a few washers and that special bolt in there to stop it from twisting. But I'm pretty sure you could put other friction shifters on here as well, like the down tube ones, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, you have to undo the whole bolt so you can tighten it inside your handlebar. But yeah, wasn't too difficult. You actually have to wind it the opposite way to tighten it, and then yeah, just put your shifters back on, and then you can use the little pivot with the little ring to adjust how much tension you put on the lever itself. But yeah, I think these look pretty good. I think they look pretty nice with the period of the bike. I don't usually care about the period of the bike much, but I think all in all, this bike, everything kind of matches up pretty well. I just try to get it close range, close enough. But yeah, things looking good. And then here, it's cutting all the cables, all the housing. Just make sure you can use an old spoke to make sure the housing's clear, and then use a file to file out the ends. And then yeah, just cut the cables to make sure they have a nice smooth line without kinking too much or without being too short. If anything, do it a little bit longer, and then you can cut it down after. And then yeah, I just end up doing the same on the whole bike here.
Alright, so I cut all the cables. One thing to note is just make sure you pull this down when you're measuring this one, so the cable's not too short. If you measure it like that, it's going to be short, of course. And then with these cables, I decided I'm going to run it along the handlebar here. So yeah, I just put the brake cable in first, and I'm going to run this one under. I measured a bunch of times, make sure this is flush with the handle. But yeah, you just got to try to make sure that when you turn your wheel, it doesn't rub too much, and you got good movement. And then what I ended up doing was I cut this cable the same size as this cable because I figure it would be even, and then I double checked it as well to make sure it fit. But yeah, it's good to test run your cables, make sure they all fit before you lace it up. But yeah, it should be good. I'm gonna probably hook up the brakes first, and then I'll do the gear cables after. And apparently the old school way, people used to just run it like this. They used to do a few loops of the grip tape here and then just run it out. But yeah, I think it'll be neater if you just run it along the bar.
So yeah, what I ended up doing was I just want to install the brakes first, so that would kind of set the cables in the position I want them for the brakes, and I could tape up those cables, make sure they're working well. Here you can see I'm using a little bit of tape. I put it on my jumper so it's not as sticky if someone wants to take it off. But I decided to tape this cable straight into the groove, and then I'm going to run the shifter cable right underneath it. And then here with the little hanger, I ran it a little bit high just in case someone wants to put a rack on. And then, yeah, because sometimes I remember I used to run it lower, but then when you go to put on a rack, you got to like readjust your brakes and it becomes a hassle. So I decided just to do it high, just knowing that maybe I'll chuck a rack on or someone else will chuck a rack on. And then a little tip here, just with the lever, you just use a little bit of Velcro, and then it just keeps the handle out of the way. You can wind it. You can put the brake cable in fairly easy and don't have to worry. And then the same with the other side, just one piece of tape there. And then, yeah, the brakes. Make sure the cable slides nice and through. Make sure the housing is sitting right. And then you can install these hangers. And then, yeah, just tighten it up just like that. Yeah, I end up using another piece of brake cable for the straddle cable, because the old ones were just they were just rusted. And then here, installing the gear cables, just slide it through just like that. And then, yeah, just pull it all the way down. Make sure you put it through the little cable guide at the bottom of the frame, and then slide it through a derailleur. And then I just do it pretty tight for now, just because both shifters are going to be friction, so there's probably not going to be too much adjustments needed after I finish the bike. And then you can see here, yeah, running the gear cable right underneath, and then just taping it on again, taping it together. And then same with the front mech, putting that on, taping the cable on. Here's the final thing, hopefully the final Iveco rust process, just getting rid of the rust on the skewers. I end up buffing it like this, similar to the headset. Just buff it up as much as you can. I gotta admit, like, the skewers aren't red hot, but they'll do the job. They clean up fairly decent. And then here, just making sure both brakes work. Just line up the pads and pull on the cable if you want to adjust your pull. And yeah, these were working well. The wheels are pretty much true, so I didn't have to worry about truing them up. And then, yeah, just snapping these cables. This is how I do the brake cables. I just rest it on the inside of the hanger, and then cutting the other ones, getting the cables out of the way. Give it a little bend if you want to. And then, yeah, the saddle, I didn't know what to put on, so I ended up putting just my turbo saddle on for now. I'll probably end up switching this out for something else, but yeah, it's going to be turbo for now. And then here, wrapping up the grip tape. The grip tape, I don't know if you saw my story, it's just a Zor grip tape, just 20 bucks, and it's just cork. But yeah, this is basically how you wrap it and reverse the way it tapes on at the top. So every time you press down on the top or press down on the drops, it's going to tighten the grip tape instead of loosening it. And then here is how I finish the grip tape on the ends. You just cut a straight line on where you want it to finish. And then I end up cutting the tape that came with it just thinner, because I just wanted a thinner look instead of that thick tape. But yeah, pretty happy with how this turned out. Overall pretty even. And then same thing with the other side, lift up the hoods, go up, down, and across, and back up. And then just try to keep your grip tape overlap as even as possible, and it should look pretty good. I think the good thing about grip tape is you can just, if it's not looking good, you can just redo it. But yeah, I was pretty stoked on this. Alright, so I noticed two things. I noticed a little hole there, so I'm going to fix it. And down here, you can see it kind of bulges out a little bit because I didn't cut tape at the beginning. So I'm going to fix those, and yeah, should be good. Okay, here I've unwind it. Just take your time, shouldn't be too bad. And before I start off, I'm just going to cut it straight angle right here, and it should be less bulky. And then when you're cutting it, just make sure there's enough to cover the entire bar all the way around. I've overlapped it a little bit, so I'm going to cut along this line. Yeah, you can see, just cut it there, and then you just line it up. I start from the inside, the tip goes on the inside, and then you just wrap it. I should have done this in the first place, but I thought it would be fine because I do my other bikes without cutting it. But I think maybe because you can't stick it into the end of the bar, it's a little bit different, but yeah, looking pretty good.
And for this area, you just got to put a piece of cork here. All right, that's all done. Looking good there. Looking good on that side too. No holes here. And the other side. Yeah, perfect. It looks pretty good.
All right, checking the chain on. So yeah, just using a SRAM 8-speed chain, 6, 7, 8 speeds are all the same. Same thickness of chain, and this comes a little bit sticky, and I'm just using the smooth prep cleaner just to clean it. It's pretty good, smells like orange, and yeah, cleans it real easy. Shout out to Bike for that again. And then yeah, just chucking the chain on. To measure the chain, you just do the biggest chain ring and the biggest cog, and then you can see how it doesn't line up here. If it doesn't line up, you just go to the next one before you count how many links you need to add, and you just add 2 links, and then you just pop it off here. Still using my chain breaker, still works. And then when you put in the chain, just make sure you pull it through the pulley the right way, otherwise it's going to sound terrible. And then after you link it in, you can just put it on the, usually I put it on the inside so I can join it a little bit easier, and then I put the quick link in and then I just pull it tight. If you don't want to pull it tight, you can also put the link at the top of the bike where the bike is, and then you just pull on the pedal and it should click in. And then here, just indexing the gears. Nothing to index actually because it's friction, but just making sure they work, and yeah, they work pretty well. I didn't have to really adjust the limit screws and the derailleurs.
So I noticed one thing about when I'm shifting is that the pivot is about here to here, about 90 degrees. So what I want to do is, instead of changing it from here to here, I'm going to change it from about here to here. So yeah, basically just give it a little bit more brake cable, and that should help it. Okay, so I changed it to top gear is flat on both sides. So fastest gear front and back, basically, so you're more aero.
And then here, putting on the smooth lube chain lube, and then chucking these pedals on. I didn't end up restoring the other pedals because I ran out of bearings for that size, so I just chucked in these gravel ones, or these downhill ones that I had. And then one last issue I had was the little brake hanger like popped off when I pulled on the brake too much. So you can see it's quite thick and doesn't have any threads, but long story short, I ended up sanding it down a bunch, and it looks like this now. And the last thing, putting the cable ends on. Just put them in, give them a squeeze. That's the last thing, and here's the final bike. that's basically the video. Yeah, the bike ride is super sick. It's pretty fun with the shifters on the end as well. You don't have to bend down so low. Shifts pretty well, rides pretty smooth, super fun, works well off-road as well. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Hope you liked it. Big shout out to the people who donated for this build. Helps a lot. It's Ryan, William, Giovanni, and George. Thank you so much. Thank you to anyone who bought a shirt as well. That helps. And thank you to anyone who bought stickers. And last but not least, thank you to all my supporters. Hope you guys like it. I love making these vids. So yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Next one's going to be that extra cycle. Hope you have a good day and peace out.